Lately, I've been buying some sample packs and some MIDI packs. And somebody asked me, well, what do you do when you get one? And I do have kind of a routine. So here's an example of some MIDI file packs. It doesn't matter where you get them. These are from Mystic Alencar. Some pretty good deals there, right? And maybe you get some of your samples from Cymatics, or another popular one is Ghost Hack. But none of that really matters. Once you've decided to buy something, you sign up, you pay your money, and then you download usually a zip file. I expand the zip file right in my download directory. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of preview what I've got and then decide where to put the different things. Because there could be MIDI, there could be audio, there could be some documents and some other tools that are kind of embedded in the pack. And so I would peek in here to see what I've got. This one's got, it looks like, yeah, you got a bunch of WAV files. Oh, and some MIDI files. And really what I'm doing is I'm just trying to figure out how they've organized their folders and the structure. But essentially, I'm going to probably take all of the WAV files and put them over here in my sample loops folder. And you can see I've got this organized pretty much by vendor or pack. So for example, here in the Ghost Hack folder, I've got folders within folders for all the different packs that I've gotten from Ghost Hack. And for the record, a lot of these I got for free. You know, there'll be a bunch of WAV files. And they've nicely labeled things. And look at that, there's some MIDI as well. What I might do, or what I try to do, is I keep that organization, but under a kind of master folder for Ghost Hack. And I'll show you why. I like to use the ADSR sample manager for all my loops and one-shots, all the audio. And what I do is I have a separate, if you look here on the left, I have a separate folder that kind of mimics that structure. If I look within Ghost Hack, look at that, it looks very similar to the folder structure because I've added it into the ADSR sample manager, which is nothing more than clicking on Add Library, going to the particular folder, and then clicking Open. And it does its work to create all the subcategories. Here's another one called Funky Guitar. Once I've got them loaded into ADSR Sample Manager, I probably will go through and listen to them here. And the great thing about ADSR Sample Manager is you get to see all the tags. But as I go through listening to these, I'm going to flag my favorites with a little heart there. And at the end of the day, I've gone through the entire pack and said, okay, these are my favorites. These are the ones that I'm probably going to do something with these. The advantage of this structure is that I can limit my searching to just the particular vendor or pack. And if you click on the little eye in here, it'll tell you there's 561 audio files in ADSR Sample Manager from that pack. Take a look at Ghost Hack. I've got 1,797 files. And they're further divided into those subfolders that we were talking about. Melodic Atmospheres. I don't have any favorites here, but I can still preview them here. And this is going to be my primary browser for audio. But what about the MIDI? What I find is that the MIDI is sometimes related to the audio files, but I actually store the MIDI in a different structure. Again, it's by vendor, and I have a folder for each vendor. And I might poke through here and look at some of the MIDI. But to preview the MIDI, I'm actually using NS. It's a generic MIDI player because within ADSR Sample Manager, it doesn't play MIDI files. But this is the way I go about previewing Midi. And this NS Midi player uses a sound font, because otherwise Midi would produce no sound. This is a bass part, but you're hearing a piano because that's what it defaults to. So a little bit of imagination is necessary. That's my goal, is to kind of split up the Midi from the audio. Soundmasters has a pretty extensive bundle called All Midi Bundle. So I kind of have two techniques, right? I've got ADSR Sample Manager for all my audio, and I've got that NS Midi player for all the Midi. It would be great if there was one tool that let you preview both Midi and audio, because sometimes these things are related in a pack. There isn't such a tool that I'm aware of, so I have to use two different ones. At the end of the day, everything that I download and keep, I put into ADSR Sample Manager. So here's another example where I got a pack from Wave Grind, and I went through it listening to a lot of the samples, and I picked a bunch of favorites, see what my favorites are. So why go through all that work? And I'll tell you that my thinking is, if you do buy a MIDI pack or a loop pack or a bundle of samples and loops, it's important to know what's in there so that when you go to create some music, you kind of know where to go look. So although it takes some time to sort of preview and flag some as favorites, the favorites gives me a clue as to what is built into that pack. And I find that really helpful.